but just things moving so quickly, so fast that you just have to like just I'm barely keeping up, and like we I told my boss this is the other day where like he asked me like how are you feeling, and I told him like I feel just barely in control, which is a lot of fun.
Which is a lot of fun. Okay, so you're liking that. That's awesome. Okay, so Avery, do you want to just introduce yourself to start? First of all, thank you for coming on here.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so my name's Avery. I guess a bit about me. Born and raised in Calgary, with parents that were immigrants from Vietnam during the Vietnam War, but raised in a very kind of like open-minded, non-traditional fashion. So if you kind of look at me and my friend group, we're a very unique bunch of people. But yeah, that's me.
Okay. What do you mean by non-traditional and unique? Like, do you mind elaborating a little bit more on that?
Oh, I wouldn't say unique, but definitely non-traditional in the sense that my parents. Uh, we grew up trying to fit into Canadian culture, while still being proud that we're Vietnamese. But for the most part, like we weren't forced to go to like Vietnamese church or learn the Vietnamese language, that kind of stuff. Our parents were very kind of open-minded in the sense that do what you want to make you happy, but then threw in the every so often, you should be a doctor, lawyer, whatever.
Doctor Larry. Oh, is that common across Vietnamese culture? Like those kinds of.
I think it's common to just Asian culture in general, move to a different country, try to make a name for yourself, uh, do the most like high respected job
Mhm.
out there,
Yeah.
so you can, so your family can be proud of you, or you bring honor to the family.
Okay, and j just out of curiosity, so your direct family is like that, where they're open about all that stuff, but is there anything to do with like your family friends or your extended family where that might have been seen as differently?
Extended family, most definitely. Family from all over the place. So, it's kind of we're more known to like just be adaptable.
Mm,
And so we do they grandparents and such do want to keep traditional values, but at the end of the day, they escaped Vietnam because of the war, and so they
yeah.
kind of left all that behind.
Okay, and was there ever any concerns about like judgment from them from that regard? Because from my understanding, Asian cultures also respect like family values, right? And being close to family and that kind of stuff, and understanding each
Hmm.
other. So was that
Hmm.
ever a concern for you specifically, like reputation or anything like that, or worrying about that kind of stuff?
From inside the family, not too much.
Hmm.
Without getting into too many family
Of
details,
course.
it was difficult to keep track of all their cousins and uncles and aunts and that kind of thing, just because they're all over the world, and so we only kept in touch with those that were immigrated with with us. So that would be anyone who really lived in Calgary, Canada. So we just kept in close contact with them, but no one else really.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, judgment mostly just came from outwards. A
Mm,
new Asian family moving into the neighborhood, you always worry about that judgment.
yeah.
But never really felt that growing up, because I think that's how my parents raised us. They raised us very, Canadian. Um, we had very like Canadian lunches, breakfast, that kind of stuff. So
Nice.
try to fit in.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel you. I feel very Canadian as well. So, but out of curiosity, did you ever have any struggles then, with like the stuff that was traditionally Vietnamese and then being raised in Canada? Was there any struggles or conflicts between those two cultures combining together, or do you think it was a pretty smooth transition being in Canada?
A pretty smooth transition for my part. I mean, I was born and raised here, so I don't really know. I grew up in the Canadian culture. In terms of Vietnamese culture, yeah, I didn't really feel any friction from there, other than speaking to my family, because obviously I don't speak the language anymore, so speaking with them was always difficult.
Okay, did you ever have any interest in learning like Vietnamese and stuff, or any other languages?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely have an interest in learning Vietnamese again. It's just sitting down and actually starting and doing it
Yeah.
is always the challenge. Starting any new task or goal.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Speaking of which, what are some of the hobbies that you do? Like, what do you enjoy doing in your free time?
Um, I don't want to say like cooking is a hobby. I mostly just cook. I enjoy cooking, and you just have to do that every day.
Hmm.
And so I find that less as a hobby and more just as like a task. But I'm lucky in the sense that I really enjoy doing the task. So
Okay.
that's one.
Yeah. What else is there?
Um, because of the whole lockdown such, I discovered anime, which has been a devastating blow in my life. So now I've been watching anime nonstop, but I really love it.
Yeah. Okay. Cooking, anime. Anything
Yeah,
else?
and then yeah, other than that, um, just keeping my hands busy. With my current job, I sit at a desk, and so trying to keep my hands busy in terms of like either cooking or right now doing renovations at the house, or just even boring stuff like doing gardening, stuff like that. I don't really call it hobbies, but I call
Hmm.
them more just like things to keep me relaxed or keep me in line, that sort of thing.
Okay. So from the sounds of it, you're like a lot of like do something in the moment kind of person. Like you need to be doing some things at all times. Except the anime is a way to like de-stress from all that. Would that be a right assumption?
I would say not need to do something. I just need to keep moving forward. And so always have to be productive.
Hmm.
I think is a good one. Anime is just a kind of nice, like, kind of like, okay, I can really just shut down and think because you can't constantly be moving forward. You need to take breaks every once in a while. So that's what
Right.
anime is for. But everything else is kind of like, yeah, be keep moving forward. Keep learning something new, doing something new, that kind of stuff. Learning.
Okay, that's fair. That's pretty cool, actually. So going back to the cooking stuff, because I know you, and I know that like for cooking, like that's been a big part of your life as well, right?
Hmm.
And so how you just described it right now is that it's something you need to do for survival, but you also enjoy it. What do you enjoy about cooking? Like I really don't understand it much, so I thought I would ask you more about that. Like
Sorry, can I ask that one more time? Like, my Sony headphones cut off you.
No, that's hurtful. No, I'm just kidding. What do you enjoy about cooking? Like, I don't personally understand it though all, so I thought I would
Oh,
ask you about
what?
that.
Yeah, what I enjoy about cooking, mostly it's like it's the one hobby, I guess, that if you make a mistake, you can eat it.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
you could eat.
And it's also like everyone understands it. Like everyone has to eat, right? Everyone knows what good food tastes like.
Hmm.
Ignoring the whole subjectiveness, like one person may think food tastes good, and another may not. But it's something that everyone can relate to and knows about.
Hmm.
And so when you explain it, you don't have to do that much explaining for it because people are like, oh yeah, cooking, I know what that is. Or I know why you like it because food tastes great. Um,
But
but the actual task of cooking I really like because it's something so basic and so primitive that to to really do well and excel in it uh is very difficult and I like that challenge.
okay, so it adds a little bit of complexity into your own actions in your own life, but it's so simple that you can explain it to anyone and you enjoy it, like
Yeah, like
eating.
I think the challenge is always like because yeah, everyone eats, everyone loves food, so everyone thinks they're a great critic when it comes to cooking.
Right.
And I like that because when I cook and make stuff for friends or family,
Hmm.
you're always trying to impress them, and that's always the toughest to do because everyone knows what they like the best.
Oh, so you believe in like to be in the best of the best in the cooking world, you need to truly have something special on your plate or something made for people to be impressed or more so impressed by it, right? Is that
Yeah, yeah,
uh, okay.
exactly. Like if I was to bake a chocolate chip cookie for someone, one person made like a chewy, soft, melty chocolate chip cookie,
Mm-hmm.
while other one would like a crispy, like crunchy chocolate chip cookie. So how do you please both of those people with one cookie?
Mm-hmm. Do you think that you can with like
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh
oh
yeah.
really? Okay.
Yeah, there's always a place where like a place gets famous because they're able to like hit all those notes.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So, and is it more so like Let's say you make a dish and you try it and you just absolutely love it. Like it, resonates so well with you. It makes you feel, I don't know, like your childhood in your mouth. I'm sorry, I don't know much about cooking. Like I said, I know a lot about eating. But
Mhm.
comparing that to someone else trying it and then they're like, they're insulting it or they're making fun of it. What's your success criteria? Is it more so that both people need to like it, or is it more so that I enjoy this, I like it, your taste is bad? Like, where does the distinction come for that?
It depends on who I'm cooking for.
Hmm.
So if I'm cooking for myself, it's funny because like I really love cooking, but when I cook for myself, it's very like very primitive, very basic, like just throw food together and call it a meal. Because I just purely based off of nutritional when I'm
Mm,
cooking for myself.
right.
Whereas if I'm cooking for some others, like I'll throw an extra stick of butter in there or some more sugar, that kind of stuff, make it taste a little sweeter or better. So it all depends. So if I am cooking like a family dish
Hmm.
and having someone else try it,
Yeah.
um, I'm less I'm less worried because like it's a dish like I grew up on or like I've made and I know that I like it. So if someone else doesn't like it, that's like oh whatever. They have different tastes or that kind of stuff. So you know, this is what I grew up with. So this is what I really like.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm not as hurt or as offended there. Like if they say it's disgusting, then like okay, so what? Like I really like this.
Right.
And it also comes up with the whole Asian background too, because like we grew up eating, every part of the animal, or cooking it in very weird ways. I find the best way to describe, like Vietnamese or Chinese cooking that kind of stuff is like it's all textual stuff. Like chicken feet, for example, has no meat on it, but it's all
Hmm.
texture. So that's
Right.
what Asian cooking really likes.
And that's kind of cool. Sorry, I never thought of it this way. So on like a more broader sense, I guess you can look at like whatever dish you're making, the intentionality behind it is the most important thing. And then
Yeah,
based on that, everything else comes fulfilled, like a purpose behind it all, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, when we have potlucks and I'm
hmm,
cooking something for a potluck, I'm trying to like, okay, I want this dish. I want to make this dish that everyone will like.
yeah.
And so with that in mind, it that will hurt me more if someone says, "Oh, this is like over salted," or "Oh, this is not very great." Then that hurts more because I intentionally tried to make this great and it didn't work out.
Okay, right. So your success criteria definitely moves based on the. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. But by the way, your potluck food's always good. So like, if someone's
Okay,
shitting on it,
yeah, thank
that
you.
shame on them, because I've had your meals. They're delicious. So out of curiosity, do you think that like, okay, so the stuff that you get from cooking, which is like, you're knowing your audience and so on and so forth. Uh, like, do you have a future desire towards that to turn this passion into something more, like a career or anything like that?
Maybe like a retirement type career. Just because uh, I it's a tough industry to go into because, like I just said, everyone knows food, everyone's a critic,
Hmm.
everyone thinks they know what tastes the best, that kind of stuff. So it's a really difficult industry to get into.
Hmm.
I remember trying. I was interested in getting into it once, and then realizing maybe not yet, but maybe like if I'm retired or well established, I would like to open up like a small little cafe or bakery or some sort of little thing where like I serve one or two things really well and that's it.
Okay, and what's the correlation there? So is it because like because you're saying you need to be established and like well established and like closer to retirement? Is it because then your criteria for like success for it changes at that age, or is it?
It makes it so that way I don't worry like having the business be successful. Like I don't have to worry of being like okay like every penny and dime has to make this work or else in 5 years time I'm homeless type deal. So
So it gets rid of a
it
lot of the risk that would be
yeah
there. Oh,
yeah
okay.
because everyone always dreams about making their hobby into a career, but I
Mm-hmm.
think there should be some separation because you should love what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
but you shouldn't hate your hobbies. I don't know a good saying for that, but I
Yeah.
feel like I feel a lot of people try to make their hobbies into their careers and end up hating their hobby afterwards.
Oh, so that part's also an actual concern where it's like, you're gonna stop loving cooking or you're gonna stop enjoying it the way that you currently do.
Hmm.
Okay. But for that, would it be because like there's a risk of it failing, or would it be because there would be a lot more pressure for it to succeed?
I think there's a lot more pressure for it to succeed or to just do well.
Hmm.
And right now, too, I don't have much business sense. So as much as I want to
Yeah.
learn to start a business right now,
Hmm.
I just don't have that sense. So I need to. I feel like by the time I hit that retirement age, hopefully, I'll have enough sense to like, okay, I can like run a small little shop
Hmm.
and enjoy doing it.
Okay. And are you trying to take steps towards that then, like getting your business acumen up and stuff? Or is that like the activities you're currently doing are just developing yourself enough that you think you'll eventually get there? Like, how big a priority is this?
It's not that big. Like
Hmm.
from my experience the past couple years, I just never know what's gonna happen the next day,
Yeah. Hmm.
and so it's just always kind of being prepared for what could happen. So in this sense, I just I think it's a nice goal to have for retirement, but
Hmm.
then I can also see myself, in the next 5 10 years changing that goal to be like, oh, you know what, I just want to, just vegetate on my couch watching movies when I retire. So
Hell yeah, that sounds like the dream, eh? Getting
yeah.
ready for it all. That's fair. And I know you've done like quite a few career moves, especially recently in your life.
Hmm.
If you don't mind me asking, like what was that like? Well, I guess if you want to explain to people like what you're doing now versus what you did in the past, or
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, every time I explain or every time I show someone my resume, it's absurd. And it kind of goes with what I say, like I just never know what's gonna happen the next year.
Right.
So yeah, graduated University of Calgary with biological science degree. Then got a job at a rec center, being a volunteer coordinator. Then did a short contract job as project a client project manager assistant at a lab,
Hmm.
and then COVID happened. Uh, got temporarily laid off from my volunteer coordinator job at the rec center. That was also not happy with the job. So then, kind of silver lining to the whole lockdown, I was able to take a coding or programming course in web development. Then finally got laid off of my volunteer coordinating job. Found an internship with web development, and now my current job is uh, dev team manager at this startup.
Jesus, dude, when you say it out loud, like I'm aware of
Yeah,
all of this, and when you're saying it out loud, I'm like, holy smokes, okay, you've been around town, dude.
it's been hectic.
Yeah. Do you mind if we like break this down step by step for this one?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so biosci. Why did you want to get a degree in biosci?
Um, so there was always an objective to get into university.
Hmm.
Kind of goes back to the whole raised up in a non-traditional Asian household, but still having like traditional ish values. So
Right.
so parents are always like, yeah, you must go to post secondary. I said, okay, that sounds like a thing. Um, I really liked science in high school. And so I figured, oh, you know what, science. If I like science in high school, then I probably like science in university. And so that's why I applied and did that. Purely out of just passion, nothing, no regards to like future career, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so it was just out of desire to learn more about that because you thought you were good at it, right? Okay.
Yeah, so like if I was gonna do something post secondary, I might as well do something I like, and that sounded like science, like biological science.
Okay.
And of course, there was a path of like, ooh, you could be a doctor if you do this too. It's like, okay, sure, why not?
Yeah, the whole Asian culture thing, right?
Yeah,
Hitting us all.
exactly.
I love it. Okay, but like, okay, maybe I should ask this later, but actually, you know what? I'll just ask right now. But knowing where you are now, right? Do you think you would not get a biosci degree, or do you think you would have still followed the same route?
Mm, I think I would have still followed the same route, but I
Hmm.
think I would have been more active in university to direct myself into a career in science.
Okay.
Because in university, I just kind of like followed the flow and just did what I was told, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Because I had the because when my parents went into university, or
Hmm.
my mom did at least, it was kind of like you go to university, you graduate, you get a job, and that was like the step by step process of how to live your life. And I was okay, cool. Like that sounds pretty easy to me.
Yeah, I've heard
So
that so
okay,
many times.
yeah. So did university, graduated, and was waiting for a job, and it just never happened. So
Mm.
I think I would have definitely been more active in like finding a career in science versus just like knowing that the finish line was at the end of the 4 year.
Okay, right. And then going back to the rec center, so you were working there the whole time, right? From my understanding.
Yeah, yeah. So it was my first. So was it 15? Yeah, 15-year lot of work. So at 15, I was a lifeguard at the rec center. Did that through high school and university, being a lifeguard. And
Hmm.
then when I graduated university, I was very lucky to get the opportunity to um, be a volunteer coordinator at a different department, but in the same rec center, and in a full time position versus a hourly wage.
Okay. Okay, that's kind of cool. So working at a rec center, do you think that helped develop a lot of your like interpersonal skills and how you look at people in general? Because that sounds like a lot of people coming in and out. And then you said you just progressed from like just a more generalized role to a more of a leadership position there, right?
Hmm. Yeah, no, I definitely think it helped me out with definitely like speaking or public speaking, that kind of stuff. Because, but especially like a first job as a 15-year-old, being a lifeguard where like people are majority the older than you, and
Hmm.
you gotta tell them to like not be stupid and don't drown yourself. Um, you definitely build up a lot of confidence and skills and abilities to be able to figure out how to tell a 40-year-old man to not be dumb.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, you definitely it's definitely a confidence builder, definitely a skill builder, and also I was also a swim instructor as well. So being a swim instructor taught me, you know, how to communicate ideas properly, how to make sure that people understand it, no matter the age or skill, ability, or that kind of stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. So basically, what I'm garnering thus far is you got the biosci degree, which taught you how to look at things, or like evaluate things or research things, and like the kind of stuff you learn in university studying and
Hmm.
understanding those applications. I don't fully understand like what exactly goes into a biosci degree, but I'm guessing there's a lot more like you're figuring out logic and how things work and how they function together, and then
Yeah, it's yeah. Bio just like it broke down, how the world worked.
yes,
But it taught me how to be very critical and thinking,
mm,
just because there's theories on everything everywhere, so it's up to you to decide which one meets your standards the best,
right.
and which ones you choose to believe, and that's being able to critically think and criticize everything.
Okay, right. And then you're combining that with the rec center where you're getting this how to connect with people more, developing your leadership skills, developing your confidence. How does the short-term then you had the short contract job, right?
Yeah, I have a job at a lab being an assistant.
Okay, how did that relate to these sort of things? Like, was this like a new path you wanted to take or explore, or was it something that you were pushing towards?
It was something that I was like kind of pushing towards because like okay, if I take this job, it's related to my degree at least, so that's beneficial.
Hmm.
Um, as I figure like yeah, might as well start making my university degree worthwhile. But this job was an absolute bore. We're talking about your typical like 9 to 5 behind a computer desk job in a cubicle, and it was just very mind numbing work.
Yeah.
And yeah, I knew right away like yeah, I cannot.
Oh,
work in this
you can't handle
environment.
this. Yeah, and I can't even imagine going from like a rec center where you're dealing with so many different situations and all that stuff and dealing with people to that.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
Jesus,
Well,
change.
I had the two extremes. I had the two extremes where like
Hmm.
with the rec center, something crazy would always happen every day, and I was getting sick of dealing with people because like customer service is a big thing in rec center. And I was just getting tired of dealing with like these entitled people.
Hmm.
And so then this assistant job was like the exact opposite. You don't deal with people. You
Hmm.
deal with like, other companies or clients or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, but that was it. Like if you did your job right, then nothing happened. And
right. Hmm.
and it was very mind numbing. And there was a point where I realized like a high school kid could have done this, not a university graduate.
Yeah, and isn't that like a constant problem? It's like, wrong jobs, wrong. Anyways, that's a whole other thing.
Hmm.
And then you went from that, and then you got temporarily laid off, right? That's what you said.
Yeah, yeah. So the assistant job I think was 2017.
Hmm.
So I worked at this. So then once that was finished, I was back full time at the rec center.
Oh, okay.
Did that for about 3 years.
Right. And at the temporary layoff, though, did that have any effect on you, or was it like because you didn't like the job from the sounds of it, anyways? So when the
Yeah, it got
temper.
to a point. It got to a point because I was a coordinator for 5 years. And I think it was like in my fourth or end of my last year actually. That's
Hmm.
when I got temporarily laid off. But that was also at the point where uh, I was like getting very tired and sick of the job. A lot of politics happened, the downturn in the economy, so everyone's becoming very like antsy with money and that kind of stuff. It just got very, very annoying very quickly.
Okay. And so to you, then that situation was like it was a good break. It was needed. It wasn't like, oh, this is devastating. I'm screwed. Right? Like
Yeah, no, this was like yeah, that was like oh sweet, perfect. I didn't really care what was gonna happen next because I already had one foot out the door already. I was already
okay.
thinking about my next career move at that point, so just
Hmm.
kind of it was nice where it kind of was it forced me to make a career move. Um, yeah, because you know you can't be a volunteer coordinator without volunteers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. And honestly, I think sometimes you need those moments, right? Like something outside of your current status quo or something to force you to like actually take steps. And it sounds like
Yeah,
that's exactly how you took that. You're like, okay, this is the time, reevaluate. And then the coding courses, how does that come into play? So you ended up getting into coding and stuff, right? Like, why did you choose that?
yeah, because I noticed that there was a change in the industry.
Hmm.
With us being in Alberta, oil and gas is huge, and obviously the world is changing away from oil and gas. So I knew, okay, like I need to find something that is, going to benefit me in the future. And we have a couple of friends who are in programming and coding, and they recommended getting into that. And I said, okay, sweet, sure. One of our friends recommended a coding course. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can do this one. Um, we've heard good things about it. And I was like, okay, sure. I might as well do it because I was on temp layoff. Nothing better to do, so might as well just try to keep doing something.
Right. Okay. And then you took the coding course, and then uh, you got a second layoff in that time period, right? Um.
Yeah, so kind of like I finished a coding course, which was nice. And then soon after that, um, the rec job brought us back on, saying like, oh, like it looks like the world's gonna open up again. This was like 2020 in December,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think. So everyone's like excited that the world was potentially gonna open up again. And so
Hmm.
they were like bringing us back on, training us, and that kind of stuff. And then they locked us down again in January
Right.
2021.
What a
And then I
tease.
was like, okay, this time you're done.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, fine, sure.
And then
um,
yeah, but at that point you were done the coding course, so like that experience was already there, right? Or was this simultaneous together?
it was kind of simultaneous. It kind of happened all at once.
Mm.
Uh, the main so they did offer me um to go back on temporary layoff.
Yeah. Hmm.
But at that point, I was like just like fed up because I was like, okay, like I don't know why. I appreciate them keeping me on temp layoff, but at the
Yeah.
same time, like there's really no job. Like even after, say the world did, recover
Hmm.
back in January 2021, it's gonna take a long time for me to recuperate all the volunteers I had. Like we went from 200 to zero overnight, and now there's an expectation we bring that all back up again. So it's like
Right.
that'll take a lot of work and effort. I just wasn't ready for that. I was
Wow.
like, you know what, just lay me off, and then I'll figure out my future after that.
Okay, and then wow, okay, dude, you've been through so much. Holy crap. Okay, and then but all of this, you continuously move forward. So you weren't kidding about that. It's like nonstop. You're looking for the next thing, next thing, next thing, right? Or when you're in the moment, you're looking to like develop yourself or like further learn whatever you can in it, right? That's
Yeah, and so that was a so that moment of like being laid off and then finding my internship.
yeah.
That was a bit scary because
Oh,
I
so
always try to approach things with like something next lined up,
yeah.
but I didn't have anything lined up after the layoff. So I was like, oh crap, like what do I do here? So then,
Oh, so
um,
that part genuinely scared you a little bit, eh? Okay, interesting.
yeah, it was a little nerve wracking because it was the first time in a long time that I've been officially unemployed. Like
Mm-hmm. Like no
actually
backups,
has no
nothing.
job. Yeah.
Yeah. I
And at the beginning, it was super nice because I was like, "This is the first I've been unemployed. I have so much time on my hand." And it was
yeah.
great. Like a good like couple weeks or a month. I was like, I caught up on a lot of things that I didn't get to do before.
Yeah.
It still sucked because like we were still in lockdown, so I couldn't do much.
Mm-hmm.
But
Like
still did a bunch of things.
yeah, like you couldn't travel and stuff, but you were still able to get some downtime in, right? Like that's what you mean by that?
Yeah, I think that's when
Okay.
I discovered anime too, because I couldn't travel, but I could travel through anime. So
Like a fantasy or not fantasy, like a release. Okay, that's yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Sorry, there
yeah,
was a more elaborate word, but my brain is blank on it right now.
yeah, a bunch of travel videos I watch, all that kind of stuff. But after that, after kind of like the honeymoon phase ended, then I realized how like I actually have no job. I actually am need to figure out something, and it was tough too because the world was shut down, and so no one was going to be uh, hiring anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, what would you suggest to people in that circumstance? Because like layoffs, especially nowadays, are like very, very common, right? And for some
Yeah,
people, it's like world ending. Legitimately, it feels like the end of the world.
yeah.
So in your experience, what would you suggest to someone that got laid off? Like, what are the steps you would tell them to take to like refine themselves or repurpose it so that it's not as scary for the future?
You definitely can't give up. You have to like keep going every day,
Hmm.
and just and you have to be resilient. Like it was, like yes, it's tough to be rejected at every turn, every bend, but as long as you're resilient and you keep willing to go and like put yourself out there, that it will happen eventually. You just it'll take a long time, but it will happen.
So when you say things like keep going every day, like did you end up like creating like some sort of habits and stuff or some sort of schedule for the day? Like I know how easy it is to get lost and like you were saying, like you were able to like let go a little bit at the beginning, right? Like just relax.
Hmm.
And I feel like it would be easy for people to just get stuck there, just stay
Yeah,
let go. So,
yeah. Just keep a routine. Like for me, it was like always waking up at 9.
mhm,
Always helped. I let myself sleep in a bit, but wake up at 9 so that way you keep your schedule in pace with like the rest of the world. Because
mhm,
the last thing you want to do is like you wake up at like 2, work on a resume, and send it out at like 6 p.m. when no one's in the office, right? So
mhm,
you want to keep it sync with everyone else's schedule. Uh, and also like um, so for myself, wake up at 9, have a ritual in the morning of like drink coffee or that kind of making coffee, and then afterwards, then sit down, look at some uh, look at some job postings, figure out what you want to post, save those for later, and then sending out the resumes afterwards. Like I only spend like a couple hours a day doing that,
mhm, right.
but it's those type of things like keep just that way you can like increase your chances as much as you can as getting a job.
Right, right. Okay, I think all of that is solid advice, and honestly, staying focused definitely seems like the best way to like try to refine yourself, right? Like, Instead of just getting lost, try to repurpose what you're gonna do next, which is exactly what
Yeah,
you did.
yeah, and you just apply to as many jobs as you can,
Hmm.
uh, and you eventually get in there, talking to people, letting them know that you are job looking because they can always help.
Hmm.
They may know some connections and that kind of stuff too. That was a big thing that I learned that network. Everyone always say networking is important.
Yeah, but you learned the
But it's
importance of
even
it.
but it even important in a small part where like if someone knows you're looking for a job, then they can be like, oh hey, this company was looking for coders. Why don't you check them out? Because that helps your search versus you trying to find out yourself. Because
Yeah,
those companies may be smaller.
yeah. So there's a certain element of like connecting with the right people or figuring out how to do that right at the right
I
time.
don't even say like even connecting. Yeah, connecting with the right people, sure. But either just letting people know.
Hmm.
It's like, hey, I'm looking for a job, and they're like, oh yeah, I heard we work with this company that does this. And again, they could be a small company that may not have the resources to post a link on LinkedIn or that kind of stuff. They just
Yeah.
do word of mouth. So yeah,
I'm seeing a lot of parallels to what you're saying and like looking for a relationship. I'm not gonna lie, it's like the same thing, make the intention known and then like get out there. um.
yeah,
Anyways, so you had that internship, and now currently you're working as a developer, right?
yeah. Career working as a developer.
And how are you finding that
Uh,
experience? I know it's at a startup as well, so like, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
yeah, it has been a roller coaster of a ride. A lot of good. It's nice because this startup was started up by a friend that I knew,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm also working with another friend at the company. And so it's kind of just like a bunch of people who like to hang out working together too. But definitely learning lots about business, handling, starting a business, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I guess that kind of goes towards that restaurant passion as well, eh? Like getting that exposure.
Yeah, definitely learning about that. And it's really just putting all the skills and stuff that I've developed over the years to the
Mm-hmm.
test.
Right. Okay, so you worked at the rec center, you had a lot of stability throughout your whole life. How are you finding like the startup life in comparison? Like you're working with friends now, so that sounds kind of relaxing in a way or reassuring.
Mm.
But beyond that, do you see any big differences between like being in the startup versus working in like the rec center and the lab and these, what I'm assuming are all like semi bigger businesses?
Yeah, I think if I would do this the reverse, like
Mm-hmm.
had like a startup and then move to like like a security job, like a stable job,
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have. I don't think I would have appreciated it as much because having that stable like job first,
Mm-hmm.
really showed me that like I didn't need that in my life.
Right. Oh, so like it felt like it was stinting you in a way, right? Like the stability
Yeah,
of it.
like my growth and all that kind of stuff really stagnated it at that rec job.
Mm-hmm.
Versus now, yeah, absolutely, there's way more stress in terms of what's gonna happen next week and that kind of stuff. But it's the type of stress that I know that if I work as hard as I can,
Yeah.
I can solve that problem or alleviate that stress, and which is nice.
So you feel more directed or more in control over what's going on around you and through the work, which is like sounds again
I don't
very
feel I
similar.
don't I definitely don't feel like I'm more in control
Oh,
because
okay.
things are nuts, but I definitely feel like more of my effort
Oh, right.
uh
Yes. Okay,
is
that's the
being
distinction.
noticed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Right. Direct feedback and everything as well, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah,
For
because everyone loves. I think it kind of goes back with the whole cooking thing.
yeah.
Like you eat your mistakes kind of deal. Like everything
I like that.
that I do, um, you can feel the results.
Mm. Okay, that's really cool. And then working with friends, has that do you find that to be beneficial? Because I was talking to a few people in before on the previous episodes, and they were
Hmm.
talking about like um how they wouldn't want to combine like friendship and business together.
Hmm.
And so how are you finding that experience? Because this is still like a startup, so like it's a small group of people and you're all relatively close to each other.
Yeah, it is definitely difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in the beginning, when I first joined the team and stuff, it was made clear like, yeah, we're friends, but at the end of the day, it's down to business. Like we get to business. Like even if I fire you, that kind of stuff, we'll still be friends. We just won't be, obviously coworkers. So I think that was very important to establish.
Hmm.
Um,
Like,
and there's always that gray zone, Like I know when you make jokes and that kind of stuff. I know like at my last job that would have been a big no no, like a
right.
big HR conflict type of deal. But here it's like friends, like everyone gets to that kind of stuff.
Hmm. Well, going back to that thing about like layoffs and staying with friends with people, I mean, isn't that also like, something that's easier said than done, right? Because it does kind of feel personal sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely, yeah, easier said than done. Like, there's definitely been days where I've been like super annoyed, like, oh, like, so and so has a terrible,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
work
Like
ethic
normal
or work habit,
frustrations,
that
right?
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, normal frustration, and then, but you have to learn to you cool your own head, you really think about it, and you think about, okay, like, is this like a, a a devastating blow, or is this actually like just because today was a rough day type deal?
Man, that's kind of cool because that's probably combining a lot of your experiences from the rec center, right? Because the kind type of people that you had to deal with, all these different sorts, and you still had to act like a leader in front of these people and develop that confidence. And then it sounds like that's being combined with like your biosci degree and all your other experiences, and that like the critical thinking is now there and like learning to function through all that.
Yeah, because definitely, again, it all goes from the source, right? Like
Hmm.
growing up in a non-traditional household,
Yeah.
you learn not to judge people
Yeah.
just by initial value, just because um, it's because that happened to me, right? Like, oh, Asian kid on the block doesn't know how to speak English, but then
Hmm.
when my friends call my house, they speak to my mom who has like no accent, speaks perfect English, and they get freaked out, be like, wait, what?
That
But then
actually
they speak to
happened.
my, oh yeah, and then they speak to my dad though. That's like I can't understand him at all. So what happened?
That's such a big dichotomy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like those things. Like you just have to like sit, think about it a bit, and be like, okay, like what's the right move here?
Oh, okay. And so you think like the startup life, is that gonna push you more towards like in the future, like after this is over? Like do you have plans for when this is over? Like when you go on to the next thing, or are you taking it day by day now?
Um, I mean, once this is over, which I don't think will be over for a long time, I'm definitely gonna be like, gonna take like a good year or so off. Be like, hey, I put my time in.
That's fair. But and so would you consider the next step in the year off? Or like are you leaning more towards like future startup positions and things like that? Or would you be considering like going back to a stable corporate job? Like where's your brain currently at with that kind of
I
stuff?
definitely cannot go back to like a corporate job and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I'll only work under someone if I knew like they're gonna be a good leader,
Mm.
if they're gonna be good, and actually, or beneficial to me.
Right. And what's your ideal or what's your criteria for a good leader though? Like have you seen some of that in like the people that you're working with and that's what you're identifying with right now or
Yeah, it's tough to say. Like a good leader, I think, can inspire um, movements or action,
Mhm.
not on just what they say, but what they do.
Okay, right.
I, yeah, because the whole action speaks louder than words type
Y-
deal.
Yeah, that live by example, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
Oh,
I really don't know what will happen. What would I do after this? I might be interested in starting up another startup, or you know, um, I know that we talked like in our friend group to like starting a business of our own, which I think
yeah.
will be really fun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it'll be very stressful and painful. But
Yeah. Yeah, that comes with the territory,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
But like, are you getting more used to that? Like the level of stress induced from being in a startup by being uncomfort. Like, I feel like there's like a certain comfort and uncomfortability for you right now. God, I gotta stop using that word. It sounds so weird. But I feel like it just like you're not in a normal situation, right? And just being in that situation, it sounds to me like you found a certain level of enjoyability. Like it's exasperating your growth in a way, right? Being in this and not having the same stability that you're used to. So like,
Yeah, like like I'm never bored at
Mm-hmm.
work.
Yeah.
I'm always know what I can do next to help the company.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it also helps that the people around me trust me
Mm-hmm.
to do a good job. So it's kind of like a both like it's a positive feedback where they trust me to do a good job, and I want to make sure I keep their trust and do well and perform well, and at the same time that will help them trust more and so on and so forth. So
Right. And well, this might be a bit like off center of a question, but do you feel like you're growing more now than you did in like this entire searching period, like when you were working at this lyric center and lab and stuff, or do you think it's like just a different form of growth?
I think it's a different form of growth. I think the most I've grown was the whole chaos that going through the course and
Hmm.
going through like it's funny doing my tax form this year. I went through 4 jobs last year, so
Four jobs, Jesus.
yeah.
Okay, so you're still at the tail end of all that, eh? Interesting. And but have you gotten a chance to like really reflect on like what the startup means to you and all that other stuff since starting, or has it been too busy and it just go 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 go?
What do you mean by like what the startup means to me?
Like the current business, like working with people that you're close to. Like I don't know, I feel like there's like a certain value in that, right? Like just it's like not only are you exposed to a new form of thinking, right? Because all of these people are taking the same risk as you.
Yeah.
But you're also exposed to like, these people are clearly being chosen because they're bringing a certain skill set to the table, right? And
Hmm.
so I guess how are you identifying with all of that? Like, do you feel like you're learning from each of these individuals, or is it just like specific leaders, or is it specific situations? Like, has all of this really resonated with you, like with the situation you're in? Because the only reason I ask is because like you said, 4 jobs in the last year, quickly switching from one thing to another, and even the startup, it's relatively like your job in it started what like and at the end of last year, right? Or pretty close to.
Yeah, it was like end of the summer, so I think it was like September, August, September.
Yeah, so all of that is still like in my head at least, it sounds fresh still, right? So have you really gotten a
Yeah,
chance to reflect?
I'm sure like later on when I reflect on things for sure, but I think right now just it's things moving so quickly, so fast that you just have to like just I'm barely keeping up, and like we I told my boss this is the other day where like he asked me like how are you feeling about the company, and I told him like I feel just barely in control, which is a lot of fun.
Which is a lot of fun. Okay, so you're liking that. That's awesome. I like
Hmm.
that. And that's what I mean. It feels like you're okay, I'm gonna say this again, but it sounds like you're getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that's what you're enjoying about it, right?
I think I've always enjoyed being uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Um, because I know at the end of the day, the worst there are worse things that can happen, and especially like going through you know um this whole COVID thing or going through 4 jobs, that kind of stuff. I realized that I could really trust. It really tested my abilities, and now I can like trust them that no matter what, I can fall back to doing
Hmm.
something.
Okay, and this is a question I kind of ask everyone really in one way or another, but I'm gonna phrase this a little differently for you. Um, So, like, I feel like purpose or success in life is something that's ever evolving, right? Like, it's constantly changing.
Hmm.
And given all of these different jobs, all of these situations that you've been through, how do you feel like yours has? Has it like changed what your criteria for like, um, what your meaning in life is, or like what you want to do with your life, or what you want to achieve by the time you like pass away?
Jeez. Okay.
So,
um, if anything, I might have just simplified it a bit more because at first I was, I think as a kid, you think of like this glorious, meaning of life thing that you want to make a difference in the world.
hmm.
And now with like in this company, I'm making a difference, but it'll be a different kind of difference. It's not like creating world peace, but it's more like creating jobs and a future for everyone, which I
Right.
think is nice to have.
Hmm.
And then also just having the means to do so. So like that would be money in this case. I know people say money can't bring you happiness, but you know what, sure damn can help.
Right.
uh, but it's also kind of like nice, like we're in like a grand scheme of things. If this all goes well, we'll be creating a company that can support families.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then because we've been hiring a lot of friends and family that we know. So if it's all successful, then we're literally helping friends and family bring food to the table.
Okay, but so your purpose in life, or you find it to be, or what you would consider a successful life, is somewhere where you're like helping people. Then is that like the primary purpose while still providing for yourself? Is that how you see it, or is there like something more to
Yeah,
it?
I think yeah, always helping people, that kind of stuff, in any way I can.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think so. Because
But
I know there's a lot of people who are worried or stressed about money.
yeah.
So I'd like to not to be one of those people.
So fair enough. But like, how does the job relate to that then? Is it just because like you think that if it gets bigger, you can support people through the fact that like you can get them on board and things like that and hire more and more successful people? But because like, isn't there a certain segregation between those two things?
I don't think I'll ever lose my like deep values and
Uh-huh.
forget where it came from. And I don't think money will ever change me.
Right. Okay. Sorry. I think I should rephrase. I just mean like because like to me it didn't sound like you were getting your purpose in life from your career. I thought that was like a separate thing. Right? But from what you just made it sound like, it sounds like that they are actually intertwined, and that you're also getting like a certain level of purpose or happiness from the fact that you can like help the people in your life by like potentially providing them with opportunities in with if this business becomes successful.
Yeah, I never really thought of like what is my purpose in life.
Mm-hmm.
I always just thought what can I do in my life was like what I've always thought.
Okay.
Like
Mm-hmm.
well, when I leave the earth, what's gonna be my mark on the planet? And I hope to leave a good mark, obviously. But you know,
And so that good mark is sorry, I'm just trying to understand. So that good mark is like it's leaving some sort of like helping some people in your life that you care about and things like that, right? And making sure that you're never in a position where you need someone else to support you. Those are the two things you're looking at for that.
yeah, yeah, I can say that.
Okay, so you don't want to be a burden and you want to be able to help people. So that requires you to be like steps ahead or be successful in your own right to be able to do it. Like on an airplane, you gotta help yourself first and then you can help people.
Yeah, yeah, because it's a good way to put it. Yeah, I don't have to be steps ahead, but I just like to
Mhm.
know that um that I can support and provide for myself.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, steps ahead was a weird term of phrase. Just good enough for yourself, like your purpose, right? Not in regards, not in
Yeah.
comparison to someone else. Okay. But in that regard, then, like, do you have plans of going into like philanthropy or something like that in the future, then?
Um. Hmm.
Because isn't that like going more towards everything you're just saying, where you develop yourself, you create all this stuff, and then you're able to support and help people?
Yeah, I don't think for philanthropy though. I think more
Okay.
of just kind of like if um someone has like an idea that they want to go with, then I'll support them what way I can, or um they need help with rent 1 month, and I can help them out there.
Okay. Sorry.
Very
Really.
small scale.
Yeah, relating this back, and then correct me if I'm wrong about this, but so does this go back to like your passion and desires with cooking again? Like it depends on who your target audience is, and how you're behaving or trying to help them or support them depends on that stuff and with regard. So it's not necessarily like you want to do philanthropy to help them. It's rather you want to do the things that you can or that you deem correct in that moment, or the perfect ingredients, I guess, put together to create that perfect souffle or whatever, to for them to be able to enjoy. God, that was a weird metaphor.
Yeah.
Is that how you're looking at that?
Yeah, kind of. Just like give out small gifts, like you're in the drive-thru, you pay for the person's bill behind you, that kind of stuff. Like I'm
Mm.
not aiming to be, like a Bill Gates, where I'm trying to solve the world's water problem. I'm more just doing one small random good deed at a time,
Ah, okay. And then adjusting it based on your audience and what's going on around you. That's kind of cool that like, the way that you look at cooking kind of resonates with the rest of your life. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, food is the center of everyone's life. So
True, true, but I'm looking at the relationship aspect and I'm like, that's very fascinating. I've never thought of it that way.